This is Shama Gauri Devilasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna, is there anyone who would like to introduce in the call?
Hare Krishna Bhagavi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. My name is Niharika from Omaha.
Hare Krishna Niharika Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call.
Hare Krishna Bhagavi Mataji. My humble obeisances are Guru Srila Prabhupada or Guru Maharaj. This is Kaumadi Dasi from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kaumadi Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call.
Hare Krishna. Thank you Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I welcome all of you once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are really
Hare
fortunate.
Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, is there anyone still would like to introduce themselves in the call?
No, I don't think Maharaj is there.
Okay. So I welcome once again everyone. Today we are really fortunate to have His Grace Bhakti Vinod Maharaj in this call to give Srimad Bhagavatam on 4.31.5, 6 and 7. So I would hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji to give a small introduction about Maharaj. Hare Krishna Mataji, you can take over the call.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yes, we are very fortunate today to take the association of His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Swami Maharaj is a senior full-time monk in the renounced order of sannyas and was awarded sannyas initiation by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami in 2009. Maharaj is a chemical engineering graduate from the National Institute of Technology in Trichy, South India, with a soaring and colorful past, having won awards for most outstanding student, for cultural activities like drama, debate, and as best singer and guitarist at a national level. Maharaj got attracted to ISKCON during his M.Tech student days at IIT Bombay, and he joined ISKCON in the 80s and got his first initiation in 1983. In the mid-80s, right at the start of a lucrative career, inspired by the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Gaudiya Vaishnavism philosophy, he summarily disengaged himself from worldly life to become a full-time monk, spreading the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and the glories of Lord Sri Krishna worldwide. His focus is currently on bringing the wealth of that knowledge, especially to the future of our world, our youth. As the director of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust Kerala division, Maharaj has led the project to translate and launch the Srimad Bhagavatam in Malayalam, which has helped grow ISKCON significantly in Kerala. He is the ISKCON Zonal Secretary for Kerala and West Tamil Nadu, and Deputy GBC for Worldwide ISKCON. Also, under the able guidance of Maharaj, who is the temple president of the Sri Jagannath Mandir in ISKCON Coimbatore, a magnificent temple of Sri Sri Radha Krishna at the 8-acre site is coming soon. The temple will include a center for Vedic and cultural education, a museum, cultural center, restaurant, dining halls, theater, and a Vedic library. So please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj. Thank you for being with us today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany Mataji, for your introduction about Maharaj. Thank you so much. So now I would like to hand over the call to Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you are there on the call.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is Maharaj there?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj will be joining in 2-3 minutes. He's just joining.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. We'll be waiting. We are ready now.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Hare
Ram,
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare, Ram
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram
Ram, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare, Ram
Hare Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Ram,
Ram Hare
Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram Hare
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 Ram,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram.
Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Ram Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram, Hare Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna,
Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Ram, Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavastanam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I'm a little late. I just ran back from the dentist. I had an appointment. And lucky he didn't pull out my tooth.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for giving your valuable time and association in this Bhakti Sangham's call. We are really fortunate to hear from you today's Bhagavatam class. You can take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hari Bol. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupak Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Are you going to put up the shloka? That'll be convenient for me. Yeah. Thank you. Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 31, Text 5. Prachetasa uchuhu swagatam te surashe adya dishtyano darshanam gatah tava chankramanam brahman abhayaya yatha ravehe. Prachetasah uchuhu. The Prachetas said, Su agatamam, welcome te unto you, Surasa Rishe, O sage amongst the demigods, Adya, today, Dishtya, the good fortune, Naha, of us, Darshanam, audience, Gataha, you have come, Tava, your, Chankramanam, movements, Brahman, O great Brahmana, Abhayaya, for fearlessness, Yatha, as Rave, of the sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vinod Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. All the Prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Purport: because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, and we understand that even in a great city like New York, people do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid either in the city or in the village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Similarly, this material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment. But when one sees a devotee like Narada, all fear is relieved, just as the sun disperses darkness. The appearance of a great sage like Narada disperses ignorance. When one meets Narada or his representative, a spiritual master, one is freed from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. Okay, text 6 and 7 also we shall read. Yet adishtam bhagavata shivenadhokshajena cha tat griheshu prasaktanam prayashah kshapitam prabho. Translation. O Master, may we inform you that because of our being overly attached to family affairs, we almost forgot the instructions we received from Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Purport: remaining in family life is a kind of concession for sense enjoyment. One should know that sense enjoyment is not required, but one has to accept sense enjoyment in as much as one has to live. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10, Kamasya Priti. One has to become a Goswami and control his senses. One should not simply use his senses for sense gratification. Rather, the senses should be employed just as much as required for maintaining body and soul together. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjatah. One should not be attached to sense objects, but should accept sense enjoyment as much as required and no more. If one wishes to enjoy the senses more than required, he becomes attached to family life, which means bondage. All the prachetas admitted their fault in remaining in household life. Text 7. I think I'm supposed to do 4, 5, 7. Tannah pratyotayadhyatma jnanam tatvartha darshanam yena anjasa tarishyamo dustaram bhavasagaram. Translation. Dear Master, kindly enlighten us in transcendental knowledge, which may act as a torchlight by which we may cross the darkness science of material existence. The Prachetas requested Narada to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Generally, when a common man meets a saintly person, he wishes to get some material benediction. However, the Prachetas were not interested in material benefit, for they had enjoyed all this sufficiently. Nor did they want the fulfillment of their material desires. They were simply interested in crossing the ocean of nescience. Everyone should be interested in getting out of these material clutches. Everyone should approach a saintly person in order to be enlightened in this connection. One should not bother a saintly person to get blessings from material enjoyment. Generally, householders receive saintly persons to get their blessings, but their real aim is to become happy in the material world. Asking such material benedictions is not recommended in the Shastras. Om Tat Sat. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. Right. Hare Krishna. Very happy to be here with all of you on this Bhagavatam session and Sangha that you're having. I am only too happy to share some realizations with all of you who are not very poor in these realizations either. I know that many of your realization in these topics are backed not only by theory, knowledge, but also by practice. And in some areas, maybe you can say, I don't have the practice. If you say, because the statements here about Grihastha life, I definitely didn't go through Grihastha life. So you could easily assume that, oh, I know Maharaj may not be knowing these things, but that's okay. True, I may not know many things. And in these days, actually, stuff is available everywhere. Information is available everywhere. You name it. And lots of people talking, lots of YouTube videos and Facebook and everything online available. Anybody who has time can get tons of info. But what I think all of us are really looking for, apart from information, is also realization. But the amazing thing about realization is that my realization stays my realization. And for you, it becomes information, like the most interesting information, exciting information, useful information. But when we act on the information and the knowledge we get, we create realization. That is something that is born out of acting. Krishna very nicely states that in Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyattara maya vimrishetat yaseshena yati chasi tata kuru. He says that I have given you jnana. Iti te jnanam guhyat guhyattara maya, most confidential stuff. Vimrishetat yaseshena, deliberate on this and understand it fully from different angles. Yati chasi tata kuru, now do. When we actually do, when we actually apply, then Krishna rewards us with realizations. And those realizations, when we speak to others, they have an impact. That's what we're seeing here, that Narada Muni is such a person who can impact your life. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is such a person who can surely impact the lives of so many people all over the world and is still impacting the lives of so many people all over the world. Many of his followers are strict followers of Prabhupada's instructions, and they also carry that impact with them. In this way, we are devotees not simply on the basis of theoretical knowledge. We are philosophers not just on the basis of philosophy alone. Prabhupada, like he said, that philosophy is great, but greater than that is the practice of philosophy. So, similar to that, we are practitioners of the instructions given in the Bhagavad Gita, of the instructions that we hear about in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe to this extent, maybe to that extent, maybe to a great extent. But we all believe in practice. We're committed to practice. And by practicing, we are actually getting realization of it. And then the realizations lead to an experience of Krishna consciousness. So we don't want to belittle Krishna conscious individuals, as some people are doing these days, as you guys are making a lot of statements from the podium and the pulpit, from the asan, wherever you speak from. You make a lot of statements from the scripture and this and that. But we know that these are just statements. And we also know that maybe you haven't realized it. All this could be true. Could be true. But what makes a difference is our faith in it. Our faith in it, at whatever level of execution we may be, brings in a great impact. Prabhupada believed, he had faith that this movement is going to grow. He could tell the conductor, Reuben, I can see temples, I can see devotees, I can see books. That shows that Prabhupada knew this is going to unfold, and he had faith. It had not happened then. Similarly, Prabhupada's prediction, Lord Chaitanya's prediction, also makes us understand that. So with this little mindset, let's just examine these three shlokas. And there is short time that we have. In the first instance, we want to understand a little bit of history. The little history that we need to understand is, this is a conversation between very great devotees, Prachetas, who was so dedicated to achieving love of Godhead, who are strongly determined. Yavat te mayaya sprishta brahmanda iha karmavi tavat bhavat prasanganam sangasya no bhave bhave. This is their prayer to Lord Vishnu. When Vishnu gives them darshan after their penances, they did. Prachina Bhari is their father, a very illustrious, great king. But unfortunately, he got too much attached to his material life. And he was very busy performing homa, yajna, everything for the betterment of the sense gratification. And in came Narada Muni into his life also. He came into his life, and the famous Puranjana story was told to him, allegorical story. And he went through a massive change, a paradigm shift, and realization of what he is, who he is, and what he's supposed to do, and what he is doing at present. And Narada Muni influenced that powerful change in King Prachinabhari, but by his very powerful administration of reality to him. So in here, simultaneously, you see, is also related, while father was very busy in sense gratification, his sons were out there, so many of them. They were out there performing austerities in the water, and they got to see Vishnu. And after their realization of seeing Vishnu, they offered these prayers. Yavatte mayaya sprishta brahmanda karmabi. Because we are touched by Maya, because we have got a stake in material world, we will be born again. And because of our contamination, we will roam around. Brahmanda karmabi. In this Brahmandas will be roaming around, taking birth after birth. We only request one thing out of you. Tavat bhavat prasanganam sangasyano bhave bhave. We just pray that we will constantly have the association of your devotees. And Vishnu possibly granted that. And that is why here is Narada Muni who has come in call, in according to their desire, which Krishna has granted. So we are seeing an amazing meeting in these shlokas between Narada Muni and the Prachetas, because it is granted by Krishna, by Vishnu to them, that yes, you can have it. You will have the association of devotees. And this is the best prayer. If we can secure ourselves in the association of devotees, whatever we may be, whoever we may be, whatever situation we may be, that is the wisest prayer. Always asking for association. That's the wisest prayer. So these Prachetas prayed for that. And then amazingly, the same Narada Muni in 2 generations, both to their father and to the sons, he was preaching. Just like in the Daksha Yajna, he preached to the Haryashavas. He preached to all the 10,000 odd sons of Daksha, send them back to Godhead, and another 1,000 sons he sent. Then also he sent them back to Godhead. And he had the audacity again to go back to Daksha and see whether I can liberate him also, so that he will not produce sons anymore like this, who will be engaged in fruitive activity. So he audaciously went to Daksha. And of course, audacious does not mean material audaciousness. He was so bold in preaching Krishna consciousness. He went back to the father whose thousands and thousands of sons he has taken away and sent them back to Godhead. He had the capacity to go and meet him, and he got a curse from Daksha. It didn't work out as he thought it would. That's okay. He went ahead, right? So that same Narada Muni, from Prachinabari, after doing his job at Prachinabari, he's come to Prachetas. And the Prachetas had already got the darshan. They had already got the darshan of Vishnu. And before that, Lord Shiva sang to them the Rudra Gita, the song describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I preach a lot in Kerala, where I'm the zonal secretary. And we are developing a project in Guruvayur. In the Sthala Purana of Guruvayur, it is mentioned that that is a place where Rudra at one point of time talked to the Prachetas. I don't know whether it's the same reference, but he spoke to the Prachetas, and he later offered this place also to Guru and Vayu to establish the famous Guru Vayu deity. So there is a pond behind called the Rudra Tirtham. It is known to be the place where he known to have risen from the waters and preached to the Prachetas at one point of time. And that's a local story. So Lord Shiva also met with them and gave them amazing information of the Supreme Lord. And then after their penances, Vishnu himself appeared. And here they are mentioning somehow the instructions given by Lord Shiva and Vishnu sort of left us. And we would like to hear from you again. Why? Because I think we overdid our household duties, or rather household affairs. Very nicely mentioned here. And we got carried away a little bit. So we need to hear from you again. So you can see the way it is right from Lord Shiva to Vishnu. And it takes a devotee like Narada Muni to actually put in their heart Bhakti Lata Bij, get it germinating from there. So Krishna is normally outsourcing many things to the demigods. All material facilities he outsources to the demigods. I may have mentioned to you earlier that this is Krishna's BPO, business processing outsource, or whatever we call that. He doesn't deal with the regular material affairs required. All that you need, you can get it from the demigods. But he directly handles bhakti. He directly handles the bhakta. He's situating in the heart of super soul. But an amazing agent he employs to implant bhakti in their hearts is the pure devotee. And Narada Muni is such a confidential marketing and salesman of bhakti that if he goes, if he contacts, definitely gets planted. Whomever he contacts, very rarely like Daksha or somebody, it doesn't happen. But mostly, he's such a powerful influencer that he will influence anybody to take up bhakti. A snake? Yeah. A hunter wild in the forest? Yes. An attached king who's so proud and who's, so audacious and thinking great about himself? Yes. Narada Muni can melt him down gradually, strategically, bit by bit. And to each one of them, he employs a different strategy, totally different with each one of them. He comes out with his allegorical stories. He, knows the pulse. And he's a preacher par excellence, no doubt about it. And here he is settling down with the Prachetas. And the Prachetas are opening themselves to Narada Muni in these 3 shlokas. And the first shloka, it's about fear. Abhayaya is speaking about you are like the sun and you make me fearless, because if you are not there, it's all darkness and we are wallowing in oblivion in the darkness, knowing not which side to go, where we get hit in the dark, we bang against what, and then he's talking about rogues and thieves who will attack us in the night. So these brilliant analogies are very interesting, actually. In the Bhagavatam, you will see this analogy is already reflected in other places. Like I am just quickly going here to 5th canto in the 14th chapter, number 2. Yasya yuhave etat shadindriya namanah karmana dasyava evate tadyatha purushasya dhanam ya. Very beautiful shloka that states here. In the forest of material existence, the uncontrolled senses are like plunderers. Elsewhere it's mentioned they are rogues and thieves. The conditioned soul may earn some money for the advancement of Krishna consciousness, but unfortunately the uncontrolled senses plunder his money through sense gratification. The senses are plunderers because they make one spend his money unnecessarily for seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, desiring, and willing. In this way, the conditioned soul is obliged to gratify his senses, and thus all his money is spent. This money is actually acquired for the execution of religious principles, but it is taken away by the plundering senses. So you'll see in this chapter, it's mentioned that the senses and the mind are like rogues and thieves, and they attack you. That's when they attack you in darkness. Darkness means when there is no spiritual life, there's no Krishna consciousness, and then you're plundered by the senses and by the mind in this material atmosphere. But a devotee carries a weather around him. He brings light around him. He carries his own weather. And when he settles down, he brilliantly sends out an effulgence of great hope and light. And in that hope and light, we can see ourselves as we are. We can see Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. And we are so indebted to such devotees. We are indebted to such devotees because otherwise we are so afraid of these rogues and thieves. That's one type of fear. That's one type of fear. Bhayam dvitiya biniveshatasyat ishadape tasya viparyayo asmritihi. In the 11th canto, bhayam, bhaya is defined. Fear is defined as bhayam dvitiya abhivineshataha. That is, when you accept something else, a second thing, dvitiya, a second thing as reality, apart from the original reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then fear engulfs you. Aham evasam evagre. In the beginning, I only existed, Krishna tells in the Bhagavatam. And I only always exist in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Also, I am the only existential reality. When we believe in that, when we have faith in that, and we see ourselves tied into that in yoga, in relationship, then we are not afraid. And pure devotees of the Lord bring that understanding to you. That reality dawns on you. Otherwise, we live in the unreal. We live in the relative world. We live in the relative world. Dvandvamohina Bharata. In a duality ridden world. And we suffer a lot in darkness. So here it is mentioned that that type of sun is the devotee. He dispels the darkness. Another type of fear which devotees have is fear of Maya. Healthy fear of material energy of Krishna. Prabhupada is known to have commented, my disciples, they are not very afraid of Maya. And he quoted that, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. He said they just go inside. They don't even think about it. They get stuck. And they get won over by Maya. So a devotee, number two type of fear is a devotee's fear. Like we hear in the description of the birth of Krishna in the 10th canto, Prabhupada giving his auxiliary commentary, wherein he says that Kamsa signifies fear for Devaki. She is always afraid of Kamsa. But what does Kamsa do? He comes and kills her children. And those children represent Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Because of a healthy fear, your healthy fear of Maya, your anger, greed, lust, all that gets destroyed. So it's a very interesting analogy. Devotees have fear of Maya. Materialists are afraid of losing their objects of senses, losing their opportunity for sense gratification. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of that. That's what is their fear. But a devotee's fear is different. A devotee's fear is, I don't want to be stuck in Maya. I want to eternally remain in the association of devotees. That's why the Prachetas are asking, Sangasyano bhave bhave. We will come again and again in this world, driven by the karma. Please, tavat bhavat prasangana. So devotees' association is the greatest fortune. That's also mentioned here in the shloka that we read. That Prabhupada, I think I must have told this to you earlier, my favorite pastime of Prabhupada is a devotee coming to Prabhupada and asking, that he's very surprised with the way his life has changed. And he's asking Prabhupada, just in the span of 1 year, I've been functioning as a devotee and life is completely different from what I was. Addicted to sense gratification, driven by the modes, and just hanging around like an orphan with nobody to guide me. Life has completely changed. How did this happen? I'm so surprised. And Prabhupada turned around and with tear-filled eyes said, I brought you good fortune. I am the person who actually gave you that fortune. I gave you bhakti. I gave you devotional service. I gave you knowledge of Krishna. I gave you the holy name, Prasadam, Kirtan, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship of Krishna, and introduced you to Krishna consciousness. And your life has changed. So it's devotees who carry Bhakti Latha. And that is the greatest fortune. Fortune does not mean that you hit the lottery. Fortune does not mean that you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, that you're born into a rich family, you got a beautiful husband, handsome husband or a beautiful wife, or you got plenty of riches and you look good and your family, you're born good. Janmaishwarya Shuta Shribi Yedhamana Madhapuman. That is not really fortune. that is sometimes turned out to be greatly unfortunate because, janma yedamana madhapuman naivar hatim abhidhatum vai tvam akinchana gochara. Such people are actually unfortunate. But in the eyes of the world, they seem to be very fortunate, and we envy them, and we, love to be with them, and we like to take a selfie with them. We like to be, commenting on their comments on Facebook. We like to be part of them, with them. We so much want their poster of them. We hang it up in the city, become our ideal, our icon. But wrong. They'll die like everybody else, and all their fortune will be separated from them. The real fortunate person is that person who gets bhakti implanted in his heart by a devotee like Narada Muni. And that fructifies and grows and grows and is eternally fixed in that fortune of Krishna consciousness. This is a real fortune. Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti. All others are seemingly fortunate, but they're not really fortunate. They're not really fortunate, right? So devotees are where real fortune is. If you're fortunate, you should have contacted a devotee who is giving you Krishna consciousness, who's planting Krishna consciousness in your heart. And you're receiving it, you're watering it, growing it, nourishing it, and the Bhakti Lata is growing. You are the most fortunate person. And you're also the richest person because you got Bhakti. One who owns Bhakti, one who has Bhakti with him is the richest person, most fortunate person. This is what we can understand from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Whereas those who have material fortune, they're awfully poor, they're awfully poverty-stricken. That's why Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate, it should be properly understood to be those people who don't have the fortune of bhakti, who are stuck with Gyan, who are stuck with yoga, who are stuck with karma, who are stuck with all sorts of things but don't have bhakti. The rest of them are all Dina. They are poor. They need Krishna's mercy. So Narada Muni here has come with a plan and a strategy, and Prachetas are willing to accept the mercy. What a perfect combination this is. It's not like Daksha and Narada Muni, great challenge. But Narada Muni is going to implant in them beautifully. And they are opening up themselves means what? They are directly saying very clearly that we know you could be the cause of our devotional service, right? And we have already been given that opportunity. This is the interesting thing, that not that once I've been introduced to Vishnu and he has blessed me, I can perpetuate my bhakti. I need devotees association. This is a very important point to note. It's not that as soon as we become initiated, as soon as we are able to delve a little bit into the Bhagavad Gita and we know 4 or 5 shlokas, or as soon as we can wear a tilak and show ourselves as a devotee, as soon as we embark upon, we have already become devotee and we can start giving our association to others. We don't need many people's association. I've got it. I've got the Bhagavatam, I can read it anytime. I've got the Bhagavad Gita. I got all the links for all the sites and all the YouTube talks and everybody. I can pick up from anywhere. This is great time. I don't need to wait for physical association or anything. I can go ahead, I can change the world. You're wrong. You're wrong. It's very precarious. That's why Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha Krishna Bhakti Janmete Bo Punaha Mukhya Anga. Very beautiful shloka from the Madhya chapter 22, shloka 83. It's one of my favorite shlokas that says, Krishna Bhakti Janmamula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Bhakti takes root in Sadhu Sangha. And also, for Krishna Bhakti to stay intact, Krishna Prema Janme, when love of Krishna is born, for it to sustain itself, Teno Punaha Mukhya Anga. Again, the same association is required. It's not that the association is finished. Here, thank you. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. Beautiful shloka. It's one of my most favorite shlokas. Krishna prema janme tenho punaha mukhya anga. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with that man's devotees. Even when one's dormant love of Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential. So everybody is looking for association with devotees and should look for. What to speak of Krishna? Even Krishna wants the association with devotees. Because it's only through bhakti can we get bhakti. Not through gyan, not through karma, not through yoga, not through anything else. So we need bhakti, and bhakti flourishes in the association of pure devotees, the association of devotees. Bhakti sanjayate bhakti. Bhakti produces bhakti. Nothing else produces bhakti. It's exclusive. And therefore, we should be very eager to get the association of devotees who are speaking Krishna Katha, practicing Krishna consciousness, and maybe even facing many difficulties and depending on Krishna and holding on to his lotus feet. Such devotees are most valuable. They look externally like that they are unhappy, that they're going through a trying time, they're going through challenges, but the greatness of such a devotee is it doesn't give up Krishna's service. He just clings on to his lotus feet, and Krishna is pouring mercy on him and giving him tons of realizations. Such a devotee is our best associate. Bhakti Vinod Swami Prabhupada, you can see, read his life history. Right from the day he set out from his house to take sannyas onwards, what a glorious life. Not that his life earlier was less glorious, it was always glorious. But dependence on Krishna, totally. Able to get into Jaladuta with nothing in his pocket, get attacked, 2 heart attacks, and then not know where to go here or there, and stay in some Sally Agrawal's place with meat in the fridge, and then tolerate it, and then some wild mad guy attacks him, and he moves from one place to the other, no place to stay, foreign country, foreign land, and there's a man, monk with monk's clothes, looks an odd man out, and he's moving around completely dependent on Krishna. And you know, such devotees, like Prabhupada, when they touch people, instantly they become Krishna conscious. And he went around to the worst place to prove that bhakti really works. And he went to the lowest of people, gave them the highest of benedictions, and proved that bhakti sanchayate bhakti, association works. It's the only thing that works, actually. So devotees are a repository of Krishna bhakti. That's why Krishna stores his treasury, his most important thing from the treasury. Chirat adattam nijagupta vittam swapremna namamritamati udaraha. That great treasury, what he has got, love for himself, swapremna nama amritam, that he puts in the repository of the devotee and said, you can give it. They are authorized repositories, traveling, moving, repositories like Yudhishthira and Vidura talking to each other. He says that you are a traveling pilgrimage. In the same way, these devotees are traveling repositories of Krishna Bhakti. And they are the ones that actually give us Krishna Bhakti. This is how it is implanted in us. So, very beautiful shloka where a devotee as a repository coming now to Prachetas and going to give them something which they did not get even though they met with Vishnu, even though they met with Lord Shiva, somehow due to situation and circumstances. And they are saying here to him very deeply, I'm very sorry that to tell you that we sort of overindulged in our family affairs. We got a little too indulging. And because of that, we have been spoiled. And I think that you could help us and give us your association. See how open the discussion is. How easily everybody knows that this is what is wrong with me. I'm a prisoner, and you are a liberated person. You can untie the knot from my hands and liberate me. Because it takes an untied man to untie the knot of a tied man. Unless your hands are free, you're going to untie the knots of imprisonment from another's hands, right? So here is Narada Muni in one of his wonderful situations where he's getting ready to deliver bhakti. So these are great moments in the Bhagavatam. This meeting of devotees where bhakti gets implanted, transferred. So Narada Muni's all instances are like that. He's meeting with Chitraketu. It goes in stages. He comes and follows them up. And then he makes sure it punches through. That hunter, Mrigari. Then you take King Prachinabhuri, take King Daksha. So many of them, all of them. He is very successfully implanting bhakti in them. So here the Prachetas, who are so great devotees actually, they are not afraid of expressing themselves because they've audited themselves very well. They know where they are in the whole range of events and in the whole graph. I know my coordinates. This is where we are. We are householders because after they came out of the water's penance, after seeing Vishnu, they came and burnt up the entire forest, saying all these things have overgrown and all that. And then they were stopped. And then they were asked to get married to Marisha, the daughter of the trees. And then they lived a household life. And then Daksha was reborn to them as son. And then they handed over to Daksha their wife Marisha, and they left again saying that, I think we have enough of this. Let's go. So the aim and goal of life was very clear for them. Krishna consciousness. We did our job. We were asked to get married. We got and we did the needful. Let's go. And that's how when they are ready, they are meeting with Narada Muni. This is their history. They were in household life. So here they are saying, we got carried away by attachment. So can you speak to us something? Although we heard Vishnu, although we heard Shiva, it sort of faded out from us. And we like to hear from you. So imagine even the Prachetas. Sakalaneha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita that over a period of time, it sort of got lost. So they are saying that it got faded away. Can you revive it? And they're submitting themselves, saying that we're attached. So this amazing thing about attachment, which I am not, like I said right in the beginning, very qualified to speak about attachment in Grahastha life. But then I think I do meet a lot of Grahasthas many times and I do counsel here and there. I know it's complicated. I know that we must have practical knowledge and experience. But still, there are some grounding principles. So in that beautiful association of Raghunath Das Goswami and Lord Chaitanya, when he met with Lord Chaitanya the first time and he said that, I can leave my house, I can leave my wife, children, everything, whatever I have, all the riches I have, and come with you. It's so attractive to me to have your association with. And he was genuinely attracted. But the Lord advised him, Markata vairagyana goribe loka dekhana. He said, don't do this monkey renunciation. Markata vairagya. For everybody to see that, oh, you're a great guy, you did this. Yada yoga bhunja anashakta hona. He said that whatever you are supposed to enjoy, bhunja, yogya, as a grahastha, what you're allowed to enjoy, yata yogya bhunja, you do so, but anashakta hona, without attachment. You don't get attached to it. So it's a beautiful instruction. Same instruction given here also. And Prabhupada is speaking about that in the purport. I have license to enjoy as a grahastha, but you must do that just enough. If you do more, Prabhupada is saying, you'll get attached. Now somebody's going to ask me, where do you draw the line for that? So I'm not going to be able to give you exact detail. I can speak on the principle a little bit. I can give you an example coming quite close to the detail. Is that we know that our tongue is the greatest of our enemies in terms of our sense organs. Tare madhye jihvayati lobomaya sudurmati. So the tongue needs to be satisfied. One thing is just wagging all the time. It's got to speak something and produce all the sounds. It's got to eat, taste. So we know we have to control our senses. And we get prasadam to eat. And sometimes we get a little too much to eat. And in ISKCON, quite often people get a lot of the best foodstuffs in the world to eat. And you do eat. And you let yourself loose sometimes. So what does it mean? How do I honor prasadam? The Shastra says, Yajna Sishta China Santo Muchyante Sarvaki Vishay. Patram Phalam Toyam Pushpam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati. We quote all these things, We have to eat the prasadam, and you cannot eat without tasting. You have to taste when you eat. I cannot be so artificial as to roll up the prasadam and bundle it up and hold the tongue and throw it through my throat into my tummy directly. Don't taste it. That would be the height of artificiality. That would be some real artificial tapasya. No, it has to go through the tongue. And it has to be tasted. So I'll taste the food because it's tasted by Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he tasted prasadam, he said, this contains the saliva of Krishna. It's so nectarian. From his mouth, lotus mouth. And he was in ecstasy eating prasadam. He ate and tasted the prasadam. So we can convert that to tasting of Krishna prasadam, not to sense gratification alone. Some amount of sense gratification is by default there. Similarly, in all our activities, whether you're producing children or you have any other type of experience, you can have it to the extent that is naturally coming in the flow. But if you get attached to that experience and if you move towards it, then you're going to lose ground. So prasadam I have to eat, I taste it. And beyond a certain extent, I don't eat. It's enough. My tongue is asking and screaming, why don't we have two more of that? It's okay, it's enough. It's enough. I'll get to eat again tomorrow. We can eat tomorrow again, the day after again. For now, this is enough. But if I cater to my tongue too much, then in the next 1 hour, I'll say, why don't we get one more of that? Again, and again, and again. You're an attached person. You have lost your compass, a direction. So that is what Krishna is telling. If you do that, he says, Antare nishta kore bahye loka vivahara. Achirat Krishna tumaye koribe uthara. He told Raghunath Das Goswami, if you do this, don't get attached. You remain fixed in serving Krishna inside, but meditation should be deep, right? I know Grahastha life has got a lot of width, lots of activities, and like it's mentioned here, loka vyavahara you have to do. You have to be nice to people. You have to go to work, and in the workplace, you see many people. You have to be diplomatic. You have to smile at people whom you don't want to smile to. You have to do some of these things. What to do? This is loka vyavahara. I have to go to work. I have to keep a good relation with my neighbors, my acquaintances, sometimes with relatives. You have to be very good terms. But your business, inside is to be Krishna conscious. So you're constantly focusing on that. Fixed internally. But externally, antare nishtha kore loka vyavahara. And my gratification, which I have got a opportunity to do, thank you. Antare nishtha kore bahye loka vyavahara achirat krishna tumaye koribe uddhara. Within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful, but externally you may behave like an ordinary man, as Krishna will very soon be pleased and deliver you from the clutches of Maya. Right? So this is what I call, work-life balancing. This is the key shloka for work-life balance, which people talk about so much. How to manage your attachment. I know it's a very challenging thing to do, especially if you lose focus on controlling your insides, you become shaky, and which is often happening to many in the type of atmosphere we are in. But at the same time, you have experiences of you, brief periods of time, also remaining fixed in Krishna consciousness, and for longer and longer periods of time, so that you also know that if I actually endeavor, I can stretch it nicely. And some of them do for good periods of time till they pass away, right? And they're able to oversign, become nishta, settled in that. So this is important. How to manage our life in the material world by deeply meditating on Krishna inside and performing the things outside. This is real balance that's required. This instruction is given. And in another place in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll also say, what is that great example that Lord Chaitanya gave? He gave that example of that lady having a paramour, having another association of another man. But you see, Paravyasinini Nari Vyagrapi Graha Karmashu Tat Swadayanti Antar Navasanga Rasayanam. She's having Paravyasinini Nari, she's having another association, and therefore inside she's thinking about him. Vyagrapi Graha Karmashu. So she's doing her household duties with great enthusiasm. Why? She's thinking of that man. He's exciting, new, and it's really refreshing for me, that association. And therefore, I am so enthused to do my duties here so that they don't suspect that I have this type of association inside. They can't even the least detect whom I'm meditating on. But I'm smiling and I'm happy. Like he says, Loka Vyavahara. Vyagrapi Graha Karmashu, sending the kids off, dressing them nicely, sending them with their lunch pack and everything, kissing them away and sending them, and sending the husband off. You are everything for me. And that's it. That's Swadayanti Antar, because she's tasting swad inside. Navasanga Rasayana. That new association, rasa from that. So therefore she becomes very good in executing her outside duty in a griha. Similarly, Antare Nishtha Kori, if we are fixed inside in Krishna consciousness, which by Lord Chaitanya's instruction is possible to do, even with your behavior remaining perfectly all right externally, Loka Vyavahara, it's possible for us to make a good balance. That means my attachment is invested only in Krishna. My attachment is not great investment here in any material object, in my husband, in my wife, in my children, in my dad, in my this, everything. Just what is required. That's what's required, right? So that way, we can get a very doable, practical understanding, at least in terms of theory, because it's possible. Raghunath Das Goswami did exactly what Lord Chaitanya told him, and he achieved liberation from his house. Right? But here in Lord Chaitanya's time, in this day and age, Prabhupada does not ask us to leave your house. He said, you can be there. In fact, it becomes the best place to practice your Krishna consciousness. Because if you can get your family together in Krishna consciousness, which is the first big challenge, then what do you need to worry about? You don't even need to take sannyas, Prabhupada said in his purport. If you're having a nice household, it's full of Krishna consciousness, where are you going? This may be the best place for you. You can sit from here and preach. You can grow old here and die. This is Kali Yuga. You don't need to do certain other things. So sometimes in Lord Chaitanya's movement, Grahastha life can turn out to be hugely successful. Right? If we just get that particular thing in place. So these are some of the instructions that we can learn from these shlokas from the Bhagavatam that has been expounded here very nicely. I will stop here and leave about, I think there are 5 minutes at least. Questions, because I was told I should finish in exactly 1 hour. Okay. Om Tat Sat, thank you very much for your patience and for your determination to hear Bhagavatam. Whatever little I could contribute within this little realization, understanding I have, I've tried to do my best. And I'm sure that some of you may also have your realizations to share. I'll be happy to hear your comments. And if there's any question that I could answer, I'll also be happy to answer that question. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. My humble obeisances. I'm speaking from Gurgaon.
Okay.
My name is Param Devki Devidasi.
Welcome, Param Devi.
I want to express my realization, which I have had with you about 10 years ago. You had come to Gurgaon, and I was very new to this movement. You had come to Seva Padma Mataji.
Yeah.
If you recall. And
yes.
She had invited me. You must come and listen to our Swamiji. So I had gone. And that time I had asked you a question, because I was not into it. And I never thought I'll be able to follow these instructions and rules. And I am from army background.
Okay.
So I had asked you that, Prabhu, how will I know? Suppose I get into this movement, how will I know that I am progressing? I will never come to know, because it is not, I don't feel that I can experience anything different from what I am today. And you had told me that you just continue chanting and just continue your effort. And after some time, these material things will gradually disappear. You yourself will realize that they are not meaningful, or something to this effect. You had given me this. So I used to wonder that I will never be able to give up this material, these things, because if I go to market, I want to buy my clothes, my jewelry, my everything. I was into that. Now today, I want to tell you that all your prophecy, should I call, has come true. I got initiated from Jayapataka Maharaj, Guruji. My guru is he, and he has named me Param Devki Mataji. Param Devki Devi Dasi, sorry. And and believe me, today I want nothing. I just am very happy, very satisfied. And so much so that my husband, who is not into all this, has also changed.
Jai Ho, Hari Bol.
Yes. That
Very
is,
happy to hear that.
Yes, I wanted to share. That's why I was in a hurry. You said you have only 5 minutes. And I thought I must.
Because I thought you people are in a hurry. I have all the time in the world.
No.
This is my business.
No.
This is the business I run. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Param Devaki Devi Dasi. Today we were speaking about Devaki as a health.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
My name is Achita Mukherjee. I'm from India, Mumbai.
Yeah.
So I would like to share one of my realizations related to Srimad Bhagavatam. It has given me immense happiness from within.
Yes, please.
I would like to share my realization based on the Srimad Bhagavatam. that it has given me immense happiness from inside, from within my heart.
Mhm. Please go ahead.
So, am I audible?
You're very much
Am I
audible.
I wanted to say that by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam classes, it has brought a lot of happiness and inside my heart.
Okay.
And brings a lot of peace actually.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Nice to hear from you.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, I'm speaking from Amritsar, Punjab, India. Prabhuji, I'm having one question that when we do chanting and when we are serious in our devotion, and all of a sudden, what happens? I am talking about myself. What happens to me? Sometimes I attach too much to the bhoga, and then after doing that bhoga or I got very depressed and I don't feel like chanting again, and I got depressed so much. Please guide me that how I can keep on my devotional path continues.
Well, one of the best things that are needed that we discussed today is to constantly have some good association with devotees. You seem to be, you're trying to solve your problem on your own. So if you have association, then bhoga may lessen quite a bit by the power of association. That is very important. That's what we were trying to stress that today. How Narada Muni is giving that powerful association to the Prachetas. So it's only by it's almost mystical. It's not so easy to calculate why it is like that and all that. There's some amount of mysticism about association in my own understanding. It's not something that you can calculate objectively and put together. But we should take for granted the statements of the Bhagavat and sincerely seek association of sincere devotees who are practicing the instructions of Prabhupada and be with them. And that's a great amount of strength. You will know that it is like that only when you come out of the association of devotees. You'll know that you appreciate that only then. What type of a shelter you're getting in the association of devotees. So please take active association of devotees, number one. When you do that, you get a greater push and a boost. I should call that a turbo charge on your sadhana and your commitments and your seriousness. And because of that, you will do those things nicely, and then you will be one notch better. Okay? So this depression and all those things are definitely there because you know two sides now. You're depressed because you know the other side, that spiritual life, devotional life is the best thing. I'm stuck. That's why you're depressed. So in one sense, the depression should be utilized by you as a springboard for getting into proper execution of your real other side duties. So use that and situate yourself properly in the association of devotees and be determined. Krishna is very merciful. And if you continue to chant Hare Krishna and petition Krishna, he also shows you the way, sends you the right person, and you will definitely taste that. Okay? Surajji, I hope that
Hare
helps you.
Krishna.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Maharaj.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Please accept my humble obeisances unto your lotus feet. Maharaj, I have a question that it is not from your lecture. Actually, I've heard from the devotees that if our anarthas are not destroyed, then we cannot enter into the pastimes of Shri Radha Shyam Sundar. So, how to destroy the anarthas?
That is true, no? The first statement, what do you think about it? That if anarthas are not destroyed, you cannot enter the statement of Radha Shyam Sundar. Is that true or not? What do you think?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah?
Yes. Yes, Maharaj.
Yes. And then it is also true that you're very eager to enter the pastimes of Radha Shyam Sundar, no? That's also true.
Yes, Maharaj.
So then what you should do for that?
Maharaj, regular chanting.
No. What you should do? You should minus the anarthas, no? You should destroy the anarthas, isn't it? You have a broad, very good, you made a very good statement. You know the goal. I must enter Radha Shyam Sundar's thing. There's anarthas stopping me. You know what's happening. So you already done quite some job on your life. You've identified the enemy. You've identified the goal. And you know I am supposed to reach there. And this guy is a Raste ka Kanta, a real impediment to me. I want to remove him. Isn't it? You know this. So that
Yes,
much you
Maharaj.
know now. Earlier you were not knowing this much also. You didn't know the goal. You didn't know somebody stopping you, right? You didn't know all these things. So now you know. Instead of feeling bad about it, look back and see you've come a long way in understanding these things. Fine. Go about it in a systematic way. Anartha Nivritti, how does it happen? So it's explained in the Nectar of Devotion, Adu, Shatta, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Atha Bhajana Kriya. All these things will lead to Anartha Nivritti if you sincerely practice that, right? So you have faith. Your sadhu sangha, as explained here by Prabhupada and the purport, this is sadhu sangha, he says. When you meet a liberated person like Narada Muni, or a person who is following the instructions of Narada Muni, Prabhupada says that also, the spiritual master, that time you are in a better position to be able to remove the anarthas and implant bhakti. So it's all about association, right? So seek good association,
Yes, Maharaj.
maintain good association, and carry out your activities. The rest is left to Krishna's mercy, right? That's the best general statement for the general
Okay,
question,
Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam.
right? Thank you. Okay. Uh, is there any other question?
Hare
Vivek,
Krishna.
Vivek, we must have bad association prior. Should we try to interfere and influence prior association who are severely attached in this process to get affected? What does it mean? It means you have bad association earlier.
Hare
And
Krishna.
can you
Dhanavad
please
Pranam.
explain that, Vivek? Yeah.
Yes, please accept my humble obeisances. So actually, like previously, we might have interacted with people who might have like before we were not in the consciousness. So like when we meet our people, previous friends, we get to remember those bad experiences. So sometimes we feel compassionate for them, and we would like to convey our consciousness like this is bad. It will ultimately affect you, and it is dukkale ashashvat. But sometimes our friends that they don't listen. So should we try to influence people who are not in Krishna consciousness? So in this process, like do we lose some
Well, I think
thing?
I understand yourself vaguely, but I think you're trying to ask, should we go out of our way to influence others who may be bad association to take up Krishna consciousness? If that affects your consciousness, then better you don't do it for now. If by trying to change another person, it affects you, in other words, you land up taking their association more than you can give your association to them in terms of Krishna consciousness. So better don't. Your faith, komala shuddha, soft faith may get affected. So keep away. Keep a good, nice, smiling distance away, respectfully keep away. And then when you become really strong enough, then you can approach them again and you can try it out. So the dipstick is you can already feel the pulse. I think this is affecting me and my consciousness, so I better don't do it. Right? So when you're strong enough, you can try to do that. Maybe that will help. All right. I think there are no more questions or comments. I don't think anybody from Charlotte as such wants to question, although the invitations from Charlotte are people from all over India.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. Thank you so much. You made such valuable points. And it's because of the association that we are able to practice now. You have grown us in devotion since we are very young, from school days. I mean, you're so unique in that you put all your energy in school going, college going children, who may not be very much effective for your immediate benefit in the congregation, but you have spent so much on us, Maharaj, and because of that, I want to thank you today that we are still able to practice some bhakti. And very valuable point of association you made, and I want to invite you for Bhakti Sangha as much as possible, so that you continue to nourish us with your very, very valuable association. And one question is that about the example of this paramour attachment. I mean, of course, we have heard this so many times, but for example, if the example of Vashamshi Jirnani, we can relate with it. Okay, just as a person is changing the dress, the soul changes the body. But this example is something, it stops the taboo that, to understand that a chaste person, a chaste woman would be attached to a paramour, to enter into that paradigm and understand that example. So can you throw some light on it, Mara?
Well, I know I felt the same thing in the beginning, that you can get carried away by an moral and immoral judgment of the example itself. Because the example is given because what you're supposed to learn is something transcendental, so it doesn't matter. It's beyond morality and all that. So many times, many of the acharyas gives these type of examples. Like Rupa Goswami would say, like the young boy and girl get naturally attracted to each other. Like that, I want to get attracted to you. And Rupa Goswami gives, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives all sorts of examples like this. Because to the mundane world and to people in the mundane world, we have to pick up something from their affairs and their situations in order to drive home a point that is transcendental and absolute. So we need the relative in order to explain the absolute. So we should not mistake in the process of the example and go off on a tangent with the example. You're supposed to see what is the intent behind the example and not take the content of the example. An example is meant only to see the intent behind it. Because if you go and examine the example itself, then you're lost. We should take that particular aspect of the example that illustrates the intention or the point to be made, but not examine the example itself for its content. That's not the purpose of an example. That's one cautionary point. And in this case, because of moral, ethical, and other type of stuff, why do you talk about a grahastha and that too a lady who is unchaste, as an example for illustrating something that's got to do with some transcendental, but that is the most apt one to example this point. And what is that point? The point is absorption. Abhivineshataha, it is mentioned there. Absorption. Bhayam dvitiya biniveshataha syad. Absorption in the duality, in the non-reality is our problem. So what is a devotee like Narada Muni trying to do? Getting you to absorb yourself in bhakti, in Krishna. For that, he will give any example. What does it matter? An example means I have to give it to you from your frame of existence and your paradigm of existence. Then only you can relate with it. Right? And these are the places where there is maximum attachment and maximum excitement and sense gratification, everything. So they will be powerful ways of illustrating something else that is transcendental. So they are chosen. So all we need to be, I think this is what you mean, if I understand right, the audacity of the acharyas to give an example which doesn't have moral, ethical grounding. But the thing is, it's the reverse moral relativization. I would say that. In the world, in the secular world today, we are blaming people who have removed religion. And because they've removed religion, they don't have a premise and a base on which they can bounce off and say, this is moral, this is ethical, or this is to be done, this is not to be done. Because religion was that premise and foundation. When you remove God and religion, they'll be wallowing and hanging around how to, anything is right, this is good for you, that is good for me, that are. So relativizing morality happens when you remove religion and God, isn't it? Yeah. So the opposite of that is that this moral and ethical stuff is anyway like, yehi bhalo, yehi this thing, sabai yehi bhalo, yehi manda, sabai manora brahma. This is good, this is bad, and all that is just mental stuff. So assuming that you know that, then you can take this example. All relative stuff anyway doesn't have really value. Then you can get the absolute value from that. So this example is only spoken by Lord Chaitanya to Lord Chaitanya's followers, not those people who are stuck up in Karma Kanda and say, "Ooh, what an example, very bad. How did Ramachandra do this? How did he kill Vali like this? How did Krishna dance with the gopis?" Guys who are stuck like that, for them this example will spin them off completely. So it's not meant for them. It's meant for Lord Chaitanya's followers. They can easily understand relativism. They can understand the absolute nature of the truth. They can understand the absolute nature of Krishna and the absolute nature of bhakti. For them, it's okay. I hope I have been able to explain that to you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Very great. Thank you so much. Very grateful for your association.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Thank you for appreciating my input.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hari Pradyumna ji. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Nice class, Maharaj. I have Bahir Nishta and Antar Nishta. Both I have. But no Veva.
Very fortunate. You're maybe fortunate.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, but be careful of the Bahir Nishta. You don't have to worry much about the Antar Nishta.
Right.
Because in the Bahi world, there is really no Nishta. It's slippery ground.
So Nishta is very important.
Yes, sure.
Antar or Bahir, we try to keep both sides. Antar Nishta and Bahir Nishta, both of them.
Yes. In South India, we call that Atala Urkal, Setala Urkal.
Right.
You have to be, yes, you have to be a little careful.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Nice class.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
It's a little rare to see people open up their videos, but then I think behind the scenes you're able to see Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Shama Gauri, Hare Krishna. And I'm here to satisfy Shama Gauri's call, so I should say Hare Krishna to her. Shama Gauri, Hare Krishna. I hope this makes you happy. Hari Bol, Satish, how are you? Hare Krishna. Hari.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I hope everything is fine at home. And the kiddos are doing fine.
Yes, Maharaj.
We moved to Toronto now.
We actually, 2 weeks ago, we moved to Toronto, Maharaj.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in the, that's a big congregation there. Yeah. There's a lot of youth.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a very strong group of nice youth there. I was there for the Rath Yatra a few years back. They have a big Rath Yatra.
Yes,
they go to an island. They go to an island and they were with Bhakti Vinod Swami. They have a very huge program. Nice program. 3 Raths. Nice temple. It's an old church. Yeah. Yeah, nice place. Okay. Jai Ho.
Hare Krishna.
All the best.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, who is that?
Oh, Hi, Krishna
Unless you come on video, I never get to see you.
Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties, so I'm only able to do audio today.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make I think it's just a quick comment, something that occurred to me while you were stressing the importance of Vaishnava association, and that is not just something that we use temporarily and then it stops. So the idea came to me of Raghunath Das Goswami, who, he's the exemplar of renunciation, yet he was ready to take his own life, I think, because he was missing the association of, his, like, I think Sarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami or so, like that, So I just felt like his story just exemplifies how important, Vaishnava association is for us at all times, not just while we are trying to, progress in our spiritual life.
Yeah.
It was
Yes,
just a thought.
Yeah, that shloka from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Janma Mula Koi, that shloka is very distinctly saying that, whatever you echoed just now, that even after Krishna Prema is born in your heart, still you need association. At no point of time should we whimsically, capriciously conclude that now that I've got Prema and I'm ecstatic, I don't need, I should only give. If you think like that, then maybe you're on slippery ground. You're skating on thin ice. That shloka says distinctly that even Prabhupada, he came to America and he said, I came here alone without association. And now, see, Krishna has given me so many devotees association. He very boastfully said that. And he pushed home this point. I need association. And Krishna has sent me. In other words, also, he said, all of you American boys and girls are sent by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to aid my service here in the Western world. He made amazing points that showed that he valued any bit of association, even from a neophyte devotee. It's valuable because bhakti is involved in that, right? I like that aspect of Prabhupada, always appreciating whatever association Krishna sent to him. That's very important. We remain ever grateful to Krishna for sending us association, because in association lies everything. Thank you very much for that point. That's a very interesting point to me.
Yeah, actually, what you just said made me think of something. It I think brought out another realization that, because normally when we think of needing association, we think only of those who have, deeper or superior realizations than we do. But by the example that you just mentioned of Srila Prabhupada, we need the association of not just, people who are superior to us, right? We need even those who are, let's say, newer to Krishna consciousness. So one way in which I'm thinking that we need their association too is because, when we are trying to explain the philosophy to them, for example, I mean, we could also be, speaking, about the pastimes, but, when we try to explain the philosophy, let's say you're on book distribution or something, that effort to explain the philosophy, might clarify things in our own mind or make us aware of things that we need to get clarification of. So, it seems like we need both types of people. I mean, people who are, junior to us, people who are our peers, as well as the those who are superior to us. I'm just saying this because I think generally we think that we focus on our needing only those who are superior. But, your example of Srila Prabhupada, I think, is bringing to light that, we need all levels, not just...
Yeah, I call that healthy association. You need association from your seniors. You need to give association to juniors. You need to have a mitra, friendly dealing with your peers. All this is association. It requires for the healthy development of the soul. All this is called association. It's not only senior association, because many times what the seniors would tell us, we either don't understand, cannot execute, or have some other problem with it. When they speak Krishna Katha and they're nice to you, you like it. But when they give you instruction, you may not like it. And at other times, if you have too much association, you may tend to slowly become envious too. All these dangers are there in all the types of associations. So it's not that we should seek only senior association. Too much of senior association also has got its own, problems on us, because we may not be able to sometimes digest the association also. We need a little free time to think about and deliberate, and then practice, and then get back, and this like that, like that. Association does not mean only physical association in a capacity or a opportunity to just talk. Like I can hear Prabhupada's lecture today and have brilliant association. And I may understand 50% of his lecture, but thinking about it, I tend to understand more and more as I think more about it. In other words, I'm dynamically associating with Prabhupada. By deliberating on what he's saying, I'm actuating it. So association does not mean, it's so personal and it is deep. And the Paramatma in the heart is very much involved in affecting that association. And you are involved in accepting and affecting that association. It is not happening simply by one thread of you desiring association, selecting it, and this is what I will do alone. But that has to be granted also by Krishna, isn't it? So sometimes Krishna is sending us association with is relevant to us for that time and place, and we may be thinking, no, I want the sky, right? So Prabhupada was in Delhi in the Chippiwara temple. He was sprinting back to Godhead, and he was going to see that pressman. And one, what do you call that, wild bull or something chased him and he fell into the ditch. And then afterwards, some other person told me, why are you struggling so much for producing these papers? You should make a book. All these papers will just fly off and people will throw it. Why don't you print the whole thing in a book? It will remain for good. Prabhupada immediately noticed, he said, this is my guru coming and telling me through this person. He noticed it as an association given by his guru through this person. He could see it. He could see it. So he's able to glean association because he's so ripe and so Krishna conscious. So sometimes when we are not too ripe and Krishna conscious, if somebody is giving us association with great mercy also, we don't take it. We may not be able to digest it fully. But because they are very kind souls and they know that this guy is a little, confused, they will, give us a tap on the back and say, don't worry, I pray to Krishna, everything will be all right with you. This has happened to me. I'm speaking from my own personal experience. So I think all these things happen. An association is dynamic, and the main thing is Krishna is involved. Association of a devotee is not minus Krishna. It's a Krishna conscious association. So it's not that Narada Muni is there without Krishna. Narada Muni is there giving Krishna. And Krishna is so happily outsourcing himself to Narada Muni. The nexus between Krishna and Narada Muni is so great that Narada Muni can give Krishna. See, Krishna dite pare, Tumhara sakari, what is that shloka? Krishna, Krishna say tumhare. You have Krishna with you and I'm running behind you. That beautiful song, I don't get the full words now. So this is an interesting topic, actually, how association occurs. What's the dynamic that happens? And the Bhagavatam relates this, and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are filled with this. They're really filled with this. So nice.
Yeah, Prabhu, actually, I need to follow up on a couple of things you said. You said that if we, especially when you said that there is such a thing as getting too much association of our seniors, and because we can become envious. Maybe there's some other reason also, but can you elaborate on how is it that that can result in our becoming envious?
You can actually become too familiar with the person.
Oh.
Number one, first. Then from familiarity, it leads to disrespect. Number one, it all happens very subtly. And then after disrespect, then you start to say, so what's great about you? I know you so well. That's when you started looking at it materially. Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Naramati Vaishnave Jati Buddhi. The mind has an infinite capacity to mundanize everything, the material mind. So Prabhupada also changed his servants quite often, he said, because they're becoming familiar with him. These are all the deeper things about, he changed his servants. Because, you know, it's the way the material world operates. That's the way, we may regret it later, but then that's how material energy operates. What can we do? So in an organization like ours, sometimes we have to look into that type of intelligent management of the association so that Maya doesn't win in between. And we win. With the resources we have, we should win against Maya. Not that Maya utilizes, we badly utilizing the resources and gains ground. So I think that some of these things are required because you can see this Prabhupada does these things at times. He doesn't give here and there, he patches explanation I've heard, but we can see that he is doing those type of things. I just gleaned some of these things from my own readings of Prabhupada's life history and what's happening in real life and my own experience. Since you made this interesting comment, I thought I'll share that with you.
Hare Krishna.
And you,
Tanvat Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, as you were speaking, I just one point came to me. Like if one is taking, say, online Bhakti Vinod class, and we are longing for association of neophytes or any devotees, and Krishna is sending few souls, but I just need to understand, Maharaj, is it our endeavor sometimes which is lacking, that we are not going, we are the souls which are coming, I mean, like maybe there's a shortfall of attendance certain days. From that point of view, I just wanted to understand, Maharaj, how do we rectify our endeavors, and should we pray to Krishna to how do we?
Well, Krishna respects our individuality very much. And Krishna himself is not directly preaching to them or what? He's sitting in their heart. Why still they are not turning their face? Krishna Bahir Mukha Bhoga Vanchagare. It's not so easy to get the spirit soul who is determined to lead a life separated from Krishna and get enamored by Maya and everything. Even Krishna is waiting patiently for him to turn around. So you are only assisting Krishna. External situation. It may work, it may not work. And the reason it may not work, it may be because of your not very effective presentation, or it may be because that person is not interested, although your presentation is very good. It could be any of these factors. But when we are pure and sincere and we present it, although materially not very great, it has effect invariably because Krishna gets directly involved and all that. So all we need to do is to just remain sincere and present as it is, Krishna consciousness, and wait. And if it doesn't happen, don't have to beat yourself thinking it's because of me or anything. No, it may be. I'll learn how to do that better also. You see, there's no point in just becoming morose. Instead of wasting time becoming morose, better learn how to do it better. That's what I would say. And then your moroseness will be, you're tied over your moroseness. At no point of time should we become mental about any of these things. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's just a waste of time. If it is not the way it is supposed to be done, okay, shift gears and do it properly. Try again and do it properly. This time you made this mistake. I'm sure if you determinedly try to get it done and pray to Krishna, Krishna is very eager to have salesmen propound bhakti to others, and you become dear to Krishna in that activity. So Krishna is happy that you're endeavoring in spite of the challenges. Getting conditioned souls to turn their face to Krishna is not so easy, Krishna knows. So when somebody does that, Krishna is very grateful. So grateful is it, he's mentioning it in the Bhagavad Gita. Natve, what is that shloka in the 18th chapter? It says,
Nachatasman
manusheshu kaschin me priyakritamaha bhavishya nachame tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. In the entire bhuvana, there is nobody so dear to me like that person who's trying to get the people to understand my instructions. So sometimes I tell devotees that when you have problems, I said, go and preach. Krishna will take note of you. If you feel that, this and all that. One of the greatest things that Prabhupada has given us to tide over our own shortcomings is to get up and preach. It attracts Krishna. It attracts Lord Chaitanya if you give people the holy name. Okay, I know you're a rascal, but you've done this good thing for me. And this way, you can purify yourself. I know I am like this, but I still work for you. I want to market your Krishna consciousness. I want to do that. In this way, somehow it happens. So don't give up on preaching. It's one of the most important things that devotees should do. Giving the holy name, giving Bhagavad Gita to others. There are always people who know less than you in this world. There's plenty of market. So give it to them. Why do you keep saying, oh no, I may not be good enough, I'm not as good as a devotee and all that? Everybody has got a huge market for preaching. All the world's a market for Krishna consciousness. Okay? So don't worry. Keep doing it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah.
All
And
right.
the virtual platform, it's much easier. Krishna is giving us such an easy platform sitting at home
Yes.
doing it.
Yeah.
It's the easiest.
True. But we should not make our bhakti also virtual. That's one thing that doesn't one thing that doesn't become virtual is the bhakti. The means for achieving bhakti, many things can be made virtual. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you so much.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Let's pay our obeisances to Maharaj.
Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhu bevasa patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Vinod Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
jai.
Wonderful
Hare
class,
Krishna.
Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you,
Krishna
Maharaj.
Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.